This is Chapter 6, Lesson 1, The First Missions. European Conflicts and American Colonies. In the 1500s and 1600s, the countries of Europe were involved in a number of conflicts. They fought over land, power, wealth, and religion. Late in the 1600s, England, the Netherlands, some of the German states, and Spain joined together in what they called the Grand Alliance. They opposed the growing power of France. A war broke out between the Allies and France. This War of the Grand Alliance lasted from 1689 to 1697. Fighting occurred in Europe and in places where the countries had colonies, including India, Africa, and the Americas. The war affected Spain's North American colonies. These settlements stretched from present-day California on the Pacific coast to what is now New Mexico. Spain also held Florida, which was isolated from Spain's western lands by the Mississippi River Valley, an area controlled by France. The isolation of its colonies made Spain uneasy, especially in light of recent developments. The La Salle expedition showed that France was interested in what is now Texas. The Spanish decided that to protect their claim that they needed settlements over there. Over the next several decades, Spain established missions, military outposts called presidios, in towns and lands occupied by Native Americans. These efforts by the Spanish in the late 1690s helped begin and define the Spanish colonial era. The presidios were built to house soldiers who protected settlers. The missions were founded to convert and educate the native peoples in the Spanish culture and religion. Spain's rulers were strongly Catholic and committed to the idea of converting others to the Catholic religion. Spain looks to Texas. Most Spanish activity in what is now Texas during the 1690s was in the eastern regions near French Louisiana. Fearing that La Salle's arrival in 1685 would result in French settlements, Spanish officials moved quickly. As soon as they heard of La Salle's construction of Fort St. Louis, they sent troops to destroy it. An expedition led by Alonso de Leon, the governor of the Coahuila, reached the site on April 22, 1689, only to find the fort deserted and in ruins. A Tejas mission. On their journey through East Texas, De Leon's troop met the Hassani, one of the Caddo peoples of that region. The Hassani called the Spanish Tasha, meaning ally or friend. From the Hassani word, the Spanish began to use the word Tejas to describe the area and its native people. The Hassani English speakers pronounce it Texas, and that is how Texas got its name. Father Damien Massenet, a Catholic church official on the expedition with De Leon's troops, promised he would come back to the area at a later time. When the group returned to Mexico, Massenet asked permission to found a mission among the Tejas. Permission was granted, and in the spring of 1690, Massenet, 3 other friars, and nearly 100 soldiers set out for East Texas. A friar is a Roman Catholic man who belongs to a religious group or order and teaches Christianity. During the Spanish colonial era, friars were dedicated to spreading the Catholic faith. When the expedition arrived at the Tejas villages in late May, the Native Americans greeted the Spanish visitors with a feast. The first Spanish mission in East Texas was dedicated on June 1, 1690. It was a crude log building and contained only a few simple furnishings. Named San Francisco de las Tejas, the mission was located a few miles west of the Neches River, near present-day town of Huechas. Within a year, a second mission was built. Despite this promising beginning, the mission suffered a number of setbacks. The crops failed, and disease killed many of the Native Americans and some of the friars. Thinking the holy water of the church was responsible for the sickness, the Tejas rejected the Catholic religion. They also grew resentful of the Spaniards' attempt to change the way they lived. After sending relief efforts every year, in 1694, officials in Mexico City decided to abandon the mission. Because France was no longer interested in the area, Spain stopped building missions that were located far from Spanish settlements. Although it was not long in use, San Francisco de los Tejas accomplished two things. First, its presence strengthened Spain's claim to Texas. Second, the struggles faced by the friars and soldiers made Spain realize that a successful colony needed families to settle the land. From mission to settlement. It was nearly 10 years before Spain founded another mission in Texas. That was San Juan Bautista, built in 1699. It was located 35 miles from the Rio Grande. Within a few months, the Spanish decided to move it to its colony to a better setting, one only 5 miles from the river. They may have learned the lessons from the mission San Francisco de los Tejas because the new site was in a better location. Not only was it closer to a water source, but it was also near a series of important crossings that led into Texas. Over time, San Juan Bautista grew in size to include 3 missions, a presidio, and a town. Because of its strategic location, it served as a stopping point for groups traveling into the Texas interior. For this reason, it was given the name the Gateway to Spanish Texas. The soldiers of Presidio de San Juan Bautista protected travelers and supplied trains and fought Native Americans when necessary. The mission provided grain, cattle, and horses to the other settlements. San Juan Bautista also served as a listening post for the news about the French. The French return. By 1699, the French again posed a threat. They had settled in Biloxi Bay in present-day Mississippi and were exploring west of the Mississippi River. The French focused on trade. They exchanged blankets, guns, and wine for furs and skins with Native Americans, which they then sold in Europe. The French had also hoped to trade with Spanish merchants in Mexico, but Spanish law prohibited foreigners from trading with their colonies. This law included the Texas settlements. However, trade was a necessity in the wilderness. Native Americans and settlers overlooked the law and willingly traded with each other. One of San Juan Bautista's missionaries was Father Francisco Hidalgo, a friar who had known the Tejas people of San Francisco de los Tejas. For over 10 years, he had asked Spanish officials to rebuild the mission for the Tejas. Desperate, Hidalgo wrote a letter to the French governor in Louisiana asking the French to build a mission among the Tejas. The letter was sent in secret without the Spanish officials' permission. The French governor liked Hidalgo's proposal, as it offered an opportunity to trade with Native American people and the Spanish settlements. He appointed Louis de Saint Denis to negotiate with Spanish officials on the Rio Grande. Saint Denis and a small party left for San Juan Bautista, arriving in July of 1714. The unexpected arrival of the French party alarmed Captain Diego Ramon, the Presidio's commander. He arrested Saint Denis and sent him to Mexico City for questioning. Saint Denis insisted that France had no plans to occupy East Texas. The Spanish viceroy and his council did not believe him.